Hey guys, what is going on? This is Madman, your host, and this is True Detective, Season 1, Episode 1. So, as the title implies, it's a story about two detectives. I don't want to give too much away. What I do want to do is comment on the symbolism of this show. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you may have heard some rumors or seen some memes. This series is about hidden shit, and it is trying to subtly impart to you the truth behind some things that are very disturbing. I don't think that it's trying to do so as some sort of roundabout way of promoting those things or normalizing them. I think this series is actually trying to say, wake the fuck up and pay attention, because this is what's going on in your society. And if you don't like it, you need to protest it, you need to stop it. Because it's affecting you. And I'm not going to get any more specific. I know I'm being a bit vague. If you've never seen this series, you know, it's best if I don't say too much, if I don't blab too much at the beginning of this, as we're watching the credits here. But this is the first episode, and recently there was a fourth season of this that was produced. I watched the whole thing. I'm not going to say much about that at all. All I'll say is it was okay. It wasn't horrible. There was a sort of vague ending to it that may have been fake, and people have interpreted it as true, which I think the series wanted them to. It wanted them to look at this narrative that's presented at the end of this fourth season of this and say, oh, this the truth, I like it or I don't. Now I'm going to post about it. That's not the point. It had some good special effects and some good performances. Fine. It was okay. It was a 6 out of 10, you know? This is a 10 out of 10. I'm going to try to tell you why. It's got a lot of exaggerated shit in it, but it's nevertheless very good. So we open with a camera, and we have here Marty, and he's being interrogated by these two younger detectives after he's retired. And he's like, and they're like, well, you were paired with this weird schizo guy. And he's like, well, I just did my best. I just had to do my job. I happened to have this weird schizo guy as my partner. I just tried to do the best I could with him, He seemed raw-boned to me, thin, edgy, kind of starved or persecuted in some way. And he's like, oh, you guys you want the story, don't you? You want the lurid, creepy, gross story. And they're like, yeah, but we got to save that for episode 6. Again, these two people he's talking to, these faceless people, right now they're faceless. They represent the writers of the show. And I know I'm indulging in a meta-type commentary, but this series does that a little bit. And I'm okay with it because of all the other shit it does right. So, he's talking to potentially us, the viewers, potentially the writers of the show, in a meta sense, whatever. Basically, he's saying, the writers paired me with this guy, whatever. And then we cut to this fucker who looks like some kind of UFO nut. He looks like some kind of X-Files schizo guy living in a trailer. And he's like, yeah, it was an occult ritual murder. I smoke. Smoking's fallen out of favor, so it's being demonized. Nicotine will clear you of parasites, so it's being associated with crazy people. Because the prior association with general bad health wasn't enough to deter you from using it. So now, we're associating it with crazy people. Because it's good for you. In small amounts, in a ritualistic sense. So he's describing to these people, he's like, all right, here's the lurid murder you want to hear about. It was in the cane fields, right? You want me on record? You want me to speak to you through a microphone and tell you what I saw? Okay, here I am. Here I am to talk to you. Oh, I'm going to say so many things. Aren't they all going to be the truth? You asked me totally truthfully. I'm sure that your desire for truth is totally legit. So I'm going to give you a totally legit version of the truth. Because I trust you. Because I'm a retard. Basically, that's what he's doing. So then we cut back in time a bit. And this is when the two guys were, just after they were meant to be partners just after they were partnered up. And so they're like, well, the reason we found this body is this field burned. The killer set the fire, which is the thing that's revealed at some point later. But basically, it's like, oh, he wanted you to find this. Satan wanted you to find his bullshit that he forced into reality. He was like, ha, I made this a real thing. Now you have to look at it. Aren't I an epic troll? And I love Marty's like, yeah, dude, go for it. You're the creepy scientist doctor type dude. Fucking go for it, man. I'm not gonna touch that shit. He's like, I've got my mental defenses up, Marty. I'm not a childlike retard like you. I can actually handle confronting the evils of man. You haven't even gotten past your own evil. That's like step one, brother. You hadn't even gotten to that point yet. This poor sheriff, he's like, I've never seen anything like this. I just deal with people stealing corn. I'm an ignorant dumbass. I'm a man baby. I don't know what reality is at all. And then Marty, in true professional fashion, is like, look, we've got this bullshit that happened. Get a fucking search grid going. As if they wouldn't have done that beforehand. Again, they're waiting for orders, so like NPCs, so like drones, so like robots, so like, I will do nothing until you command me to do it. Marty's like, you fucking idiot, get a fucking grid search. You should have done that before I got here. God damn it. So, Brust is analyzing all the epic saw, gory, gore porn wounds on this poor fucking woman. Marty's scowling. He's like, ugh. Nasty shit. Which it is. And then he hesitates. He's taking pictures and he's like, you're making assumptions, bro. You think he moved her? And it's like, any idiot would know that she'd been moved. The fucking body has been positioned. I mean, why the fuck would he have killed her after tying her up? Can you imagine tying someone up and then killing them? It'd be a lot easier to just position a dead body, which is what the coroner confirms later. Again, I've seen this series a bunch of times. I know what's going to happen. I'm trying not to reveal it to all of you right away. But you should see this shit, and you should know what it's fucking talking about. So now Marty is like, we're all part of the stereotype, so we play characters in Baldur's Gate, which is reality, and I play the douchebag, ignorant guy. He's like, I chose to play this character. Dur, dur, dur. And he's right. He says, any character you play can be an incompetent shitheel. Any character you play can be great. You can be a good villain or a shitty one. You can be a good guy or a shitty good guy. You can be a good mediator and actually mediate at the expense of everything. Or you can be a shitty mediator and be like, I'll only mediate when people tell me to, who I think are also mediators. Blah, blah, blah. Now, a smart guy who's steady is hard to find. I feel like that's most true now. Again, this narrative at this point is set in the late 90s. That's way more true now. The smart people have either gone insane or they've been co-opted by cults or other groups. There are very few independent, intelligent people who are willing to give you an unbiased, personal, individual, non-raped sense of their perception of reality. That is a fucking rarity, is a diamond in the rough, you might say. And of course, as fucked up and dumb and ignorant as Marty is, he's like, I had sympathy for this guy. Like, he was living in a fucking Buddhist monk's, diarrhea hovel, where it's like, your only purpose to be here is to read books and eat gruel. Like, what, like, your life can't be that pathetic, man. Like, your celibacy, your monkhood is not benefiting anybody. You're immersing yourself in your work so much you've forgotten what real life is. You've forgotten the value of being in your body, of being human, of embodiment, of being a fucking person. You've forgotten what that means. And you've failed to rediscover it. You are still sort of in a state of half dysphoria, like you're half out of yourself. You're fucked up, is what he's saying. So he keeps finding these triangles. Interesting that they're 3D triangles with people inside them. They've got little Blair Witch, what are they called? Little dummies, little voodoo dolls in them. And Rust's like, this motherfucker's a serial killer. He went to all this trouble to do this. Obviously it's a ritual. Obviously he has a habit. Obviously he's going to do it again. It's fantasy enactment, fetishization, iconography. So it's like, basically he's saying this guy's fucked up. He's got creepy, insane fetishes that not even the internet could satisfy. He's got some weird proclivities. And he's had to resort to physical people. He has crossed several lines to the point where he's far beyond insanity. He's leaped over several lines, and he's gone into like like ape cannibal territory. He's let his ape brain take over, or his lizard brain, you might say. He's become a murderer. And Marty makes a good point. He proves himself to not be an idiot. He hasn't read the same books as this guy, but he's like, look, I know what prejudice looks like, and that sounds like prejudice. And he goes, I know I sound like an egotist. Rust goes, okay, I'm sorry if I touched your ego. But he says, I've read some shit that you haven't read, that you wouldn't want to read, that I read, in a sense, to prevent you from having to read it. And I have a little bit of knowledge that you wouldn't even want to have. And I'm using it to help to solve this case. I'm using it to do some good. I have a half-blackened soul, but I didn't blacken it in service of evil. I did it because I had to understand evil. I had to go deep enough to get who my opponents were. And then, of course, again, both of these guys don't want this to happen. This is a very male moment. If there's any women watching this, which I hope to God you're not watching this, you should be doing anything but this. If there's any women watching this, these two guys, one of them's like, my wife needs you to come to dinner. I don't want you to be there, and I don't want her to want you to be there, but it has to happen. And he goes, I don't want to be there, but okay, if it's that important, I'll do it. Like, they're both like, all right, I'll walk over some hot coals, like, just for the sake of partner conviviality, And of course, they're pacing the cane field. And then we cut forward to it's Marty, not Morty. It's not Morty. Fuck's sake, that stupid fucking cartoon. It's Marty. And he says, if I'm going to go see a happy, healthy man with a family, I need to be drunk because I'm so insecure about my lot in life, which was, you can't have a family. Sometimes the cards of life, or fate, or God, or whatever your beliefs are, name your force. It doesn't matter. There are things in life that will tell you, or scream at you if you're deaf, that you're not meant to reproduce. This is a dark concept. It is not something that I want to impart on people. 99% of people, this is not true, but there are a few of us who are here just to be here. We're not supposed to fucking reproduce. But we want to because we live in human bodies. We're meant to, in a sense. Our bodies tell us we're meant to. Rust tried to have a family, and he tried to have a child. And fate directed him away from that possibility. And his response, I mean, was better than most people, man. I mean, he was like, all right, I will bury myself in my work and try to find meaning in what I'm doing. That's the best response to that, man. I can't think of a better one, you know? So in this scene, Marty is interrogating him kind of, just casually, you know, as a friend would ask another friend, hey, what do you believe? He's like, are you what, Christian? Like, what do you believe? And he's like, I'm a fucking pest. He's like, I'm a nihilist. He's like, I'm worshiping the god of nothing, the god of nothingness, which is a real thing conceptually. Conceptual things that siphon your energy are real. If you have a mental construct or an idea that you've devoted energy to, you've made it real for yourself, which is real enough, even if nobody else knows what it is. And that's why a lot of the Lovecraft stuff is so scary, because what Lovecraft is trying to tell you in a lot of his stories, which this movie directly draws upon, along with drawing upon Robert W. Chambers and a bunch of other authors that influenced Lovecraft, it's basically that in the Judeo-Christian conception, we have God and the devil. If you worship the devil, you worship suffering and pain and torment as a means of cleansing the soul, because you have a sense that you need to endure that. So you have to go ahead and be with that ilk for a while to burn the sins off of yourself. And if you worship heaven, it's the same thing. It's like you still got to get rid of sin, but you got to do it in the heavenly way. You got to do it by, being pious, being generous, whatever. There's another class of gods which are indifferent to suffering. Think about that for a second. Think about how much worse that is than anything else. Why would you worship a god that is indifferent to you, that doesn't give a shit whether you suffer or not? A god that fetishizes suffering is better than one that is indifferent. I'm talking about Satan, or whatever the equivalent is for your culture. My point is, obviously the best thing is to worship self-improvement through self-discipline. That's the best way to live. But this series calls up these ideas. Rust here is like, I've got fucking PTSD from taking too many drugs. And Marty's just like, let's make the car a non-schizo space, okay? While we're driving along the road, don't do schizo shit or say it to me. It's like, I sympathize with him, man. If you're trying to drive a car and someone's trying to fucking mentally incept you with weird shit against his own desires. And then he's like, oh, I don't drink. And it's like, well, of course you don't have control over your impulses. You're a weak-willed, half-possessed shell of a human being. You're thin, you're fucking, addicted to nicotine. Like, there's all sorts of shit about you that is skeletal. Like, you are starved. There's a lot of shit you have to deal with, and it's not a fast track. Like, you can't just solve that in a day. So we're back at the police station. The epic warden is going to serve them their new cases.
We got a 6-pack of 40s that was stolen from Schmollberg's general store. We got to get 700 police officers on it. The 6 murders in the back, they don't matter. Get on the Nicc case. That's the important one.
So again, Marty knows how to communicate to a normal person. He's like, I can translate the horror into a banal, normal fucking term to this chief. He's like, I can tell you in your own NPC language that we saw some crazy shit. However awake this guy is, I'm going to tell you basically we saw some bad shit. And also, he does his due diligence as a sort of translator. He's sort of a translator between Rust, who is like this failed Jesus clone. He's telling the authorities, well, this guy's useful. Don't discard him. He's kind of retarded because he can't communicate with normal people. He has an impulse to tell the truth or to tell his version of the truth or to be psychedelically influenced. That shouldn't merit his expulsion from the game or the show of reality. He's useful as a detective. He can see shit. That's what Marty has told his boss. And he doesn't admit this to Rust. He just does it out of the goodness of his own heart. Good man. That is a genuine good person. Now, this conception of the antlers as a crown is an interesting thing. It's sort of a pagan thing. You know, if you go back in history, you can look at paganism being subsumed by the Roman pantheon / early Christian pantheon, which was its own subsumption, its own hybrid. But it also wanted to amoebically consume the symbols of paganism in order to create some kind of quote-unquote globalist religion. Paganism, Roman pantheon, and the early Christian ideas were all sort of mutated and fused into this stew of ideas. And this movie's trafficking in that because the symbols and the activities of the people involved call back to those things in different ways. All right, so here we have Rust. Now, this is the night before the drunken dinner that we don't get to see. And he's drinking fucking lean, guys. Yo, this guy's addicted to lean. What the fuck, man? How you doing? Gonna do your job on that shit? I only drink that shit on the weekend. This fucking crazy. But he's drinking it because he's fucked up. He's possessed by evil willingly. In order to interrogate that evil, he has allowed himself to be possessed by a small, manageable part of it. But managing that part still takes effort. He still has to do some shit. He has to do some crazy shit to keep that shit in check. And he doesn't. I don't know about his character in this scene. I think he knew he would have to drink, and I think he came here. I think he used his assignment as a detective as an excuse to drink. I think that's what he did. I think he was like, I'm going to drink tonight anyway. I might as well also get some detective work done. I might as well also do some good for humanity. I might as well also extract some good information from a little corner of hell. So here we have a scene where Marty's coming home. He's got his daughter's growth charts on the wall, you know. He's growing 2 females. Much more difficult than growing males, man. Males, all you gotta do, give them a challenge. Females, 100 times more difficult. Good luck, man. Good fucking luck. It's hard either way. I'm sympathetic to anybody who has a kid. But holy shit. As a guy having girls, it all comes down to who you picked as your wife. That's just how it is. And then we contrast this. He's got these 2 girls in their bunk bed. Then there's 2 whores. It's like, this is Marty's nightmare. Like, these are the things he doesn't want his daughters to become. And again, the movie shows you this just by contrasting those 2 scenes. That's all it's doing. It's just saying you got 2, prepubescent girls in a bunk bed, then you got 2 career whores in their 20s. The ideal versus the nightmare. And in a sense, Marty and Rust represent that. But they don't. The representation of these 2 characters is too complicated. I can't legitimize my own dualistic. Again, it's the dualism meme. Everything's left or right, up or down, blah, 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 black or white. What this series does is it says, no, people are people. They're individuals. You can't dissect them with some kind of occult crap and sort them into red or blue or black or white. That is bullshit. People are not dualistic. They are not retards. Even the dumbest people are not dualistically minded by default. That is 100% horse shit. And anybody trying to tell you or try to sell you that idea is trying to grift you. They're like a hooker trying to tempt you. Human beings cannot be reduced to yin and yang, black and white, yin and yang, got evil and good forces. Turns out life's more complicated than that. If you can't figure that out, you're already in hell. The people who are dualists are being sent to hell right now in 2024. The people who can't get their fucking brain dug out of the dung heap of dualism are being blasted out of reality because reality is tired of accommodating you. If you look at everything as one or two, red or blue, black or white, you're done. You didn't get it. Yes, that's true in some contexts, but if you think it's true in every context, you've already been fucked. You're already deleted. You're in the recycle bin of reality, and God is about to click delete. Empty recycle bin. If you can't rise above dualism, you're fucked. You're fucked. And that's partly what this series is trying to say, because its characters will masquerade during the first parts of this series, during the first sort of maybe 2 or 3 episodes, as sort of tropes. They will look at you and go, I'm the masculine detective that had a family and kids, and I'm gonna protect my kids, and I drink after 5 p.m. to keep my social connection to the other detectives. That's this guy. Rust is like, I'm the reclusive, neurotic freak who, I'm mega mind. I'm a purple-brained dude who looks at dad all day, and I don't have a family. I had one, but they died, so I became a creep. That's the red herring being spoon-fed to you. If you like red herring, you've eaten it off a spoon. Wake up. The point is that both of these characters, in the first maybe 2 or 3 episodes of this series, they're portrayed to you as extremes. Even despite the fact that there are nuances to their backstory and their experiences that are suggested to you, what makes this series so great is that these characters are shown to you bit by bit, and the first few bits that are shown to you are very stereotypical. It's just that the cinematography, the writing, the blocking, everything is suggestive of something better than that. There's a sense that the only thing that's being held back from you as a viewer is more information about the characters. So this series has done something which is almost unprecedented. It's said to you, I'm not going to give you exposition. I'm not going to spell it out for you. I'm going to hide it for you to find. That is more difficult and far rarer a thing that happens with filmmakers or with TV producers. So they're talking about the girl's body. He's like, it's all primitive. Basic blue acrylic, you could buy it anywhere. Antlers, I can't trace those. He's gone to the Ooga Booga Cro-Magnon days to try to confuse our detectives. He's gone back in time. He said, I'm going to be primal. I'm going to darkly reflect to you the primal desires that you're suppressing. But you're not suppressing them. And the creepy thing about this series, the creepiest fucking thing, it's like a burnt orange heresy. You have to look at this series the same way that you look at that movie. If you watched my commentary, and hopefully you did and you liked and subscribed, this series is like a burnt orange heresy in terms of what it hides from you. It's not quite as adept in terms of the set pieces. It's more so the dialogue and the plot that hide these things from you. I love this scene. He's like, can you just stop saying weird shit? And he's like, no, man, I'm telling you the truth. If you're so hypnotized by lies,
Like James Figueras in the Burnt Orange Heresy.
then you need to hear the truth, you moron. But what this series does that's so great is Marty's character goes, there's truths you're denying. You dumbass, you're too much in your head. You're too much in your cerebral, like, right-brained logic realm, and you can't interpret left brain, right hand emotional shit. That's just as bad. It's just as bad if you don't have the capability to see things from that perspective. Either one, if taken to an extreme, produces its own kind of hell. And what Marty's trying to tell Rust, or what he was trying to tell him in the car, was, bro, you're like fucking floating out of your own head. You're in the clouds. You're dissociating. You don't fucking recognize your own body because your kid died. Your family was destroyed. So now you're stuck in your own head. You're up your own ass cerebrally or mentally. Your brain is twisting around to try to reach its own end of the spinal cord, which is just the asshole. Your brain is too interested in your own ass. Literally, your head is up your own ass. That's what he's saying. And poor fucking Rust, he's like, I can't fucking cope, man. I'm too damaged. I've seen too much shit. I'm fucking hallucinating. This is too much. But he maintains his decorum. He has control. He has self-control. But every so often, maybe he has to say some crazy shit. He just needs a partner who's willing to entertain that. That's all he needs. That's the only thing. He just needs a partner who's like, well, you sound fucking crazy, Russ. What are you talking about? That's all he needs. Because when he does his job, he's professional. When he's got a job to do, he's on it. He's in it. He is it. In fact, he's autistically committed to it. It's like an autistic person you have to lead around on a fucking leash. This guy fucking chewing tobacco. I love this guy. The 90s sunglasses, man. I mean, again, the set design in this, I gotta make one comment here. It's great. This screams 90s. This is great. Those black sort of secret agent glasses, man. It's a photo of my dad and me when I'm a baby, and we're both wearing those glasses. Those were Kino. Those were cool. Those were the 90s fit. The epic fit. So again, they're looking for this girl. He's like, no, there's another girl who was killed that wasn't her. It's almost like there's an epidemic of young girls, and possibly infants, being spirited away, and not in the fun Ghibli way. In a much worse way. And the guy's like, we're predominantly African-American. It's like, bro, we're not racist. We're here. We're doing our fucking job. The first thing you say to us, apart from what the crime was, are you guys racist? We're here helping you. Like, what are you gonna spit in our face? For fuck's sake, man. God, trying the patience of Job. And he's like, I've seen those symbols. And he's got some good sketches. He's a bit of an artist. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to interpret the imagery around him and to capture it for his own benefit. Had a bit of that Santeria. Now, Santeria is a New Orleans, southern U.S. bone casting, bone throwing kind of thing. It is a non-Christian thing. It's a I don't know the specific religion, but Santeria, I think, is the term for it. I think that's actually the term. So he's saying she had some of that in her. And so again, these detectives are like, well, a fucking 10-year-old goes missing. Why the fuck does this not get attention? And it's like, oh, the mother was a whore, so we didn't care. Because the bloodline was irrelevant to our elite fucking creepy motives, we didn't give a shit about it. Even though it's a human life with a conscious mind. Love how the guy's pen is like pointing into him in that scene. That's cool. Again, you could dissect this single episode, not even the whole series, in a sort of Kubrick-esque way. I mean, that's why I love this. It's great. He's like, oh, she did this sketch that's just stupid. It's a kid, so it's stupid. So just dismiss the whole case. Don't follow up on it. And then Russ's like, I'm an alcoholic, guys. I'm starting to shake. I gotta get some beer in me. I know that feel, man. When your connection to truth is predicated on that, you get judged by people. Fuck them. If you're trying to help them, fuck them. They need to recognize that shit and need to help you. He's like, I have a schedule. He's like, it's Thursday and it's past noon. Wednesday's the real God's day off, if you believe the real calendar that was instantiated before the Gregorian. Wednesday was the actual Sunday. That's Saturday, Sunday bullshit. I don't subscribe to that. Thursday's my day off. I got my own calendar, motherfuckers. You don't like it? You can just cut yourselves off from any insights I might be able to provide to you. My price is very low. I've lowered it just for you. And even then, you're so reticent to accept it. Fucking Ponzi fucks. And now we have the epic Dark Knight. This reminds me of the Dark Knight, where it's like, we don't know who Harvey Dent or the Dark Knight are. Oh shit, they're the same person. This reminds me of. You know, it's a press release, blah, 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 performance, suits, masks, blah, blah, blah. We're all wearing masks. We're all wearing suits. Isn't that better than just not doing that? Why can't we all be naked? Why can't we all be what we are? Oh, it caused an apocalypse in Atlantis and blah, blah, blah. I don't give a shit. Show me. Show me why 10,000 layers of lies is a better D&D game base than something that came before it. I've yet to be convinced, and I'm sick of this crap. This mask upon mask upon mask shit. I'm sick of it. Let's vomit up the apple that we ate. I'd go that far just to have some fucking fun. This is so goddamn boring. I love it. They're interviewing this guy. He's like, I'm a meth head. I don't know shit. I'll say whatever I think I have to say and get the plot moving on, bro. And neither of them care about him. He's human waste. He's a piece of shit. Who cares? Like she could duck hunt with a rake. He's like, oh, I'm sure she didn't say none because she was incepted by some kind of linguistic virus that told her she had to be celibate and be a submissive female whore to some fucking dark wizard. I'm sure that wasn't the case. It's just pathetic, man. Like, it's just pathetic. It's so fucking obvious. It makes me sick. It's like beyond boredom. When you go beyond boredom, you start to get nauseous. And when you have experiences that are supposed to augment or surpass your boredom, they're just going to make you puke because you're sick of the bullshit. Also, what's important we have to talk about in this scene, he's drinking Lone Star beer. He's the Lone Star, the North Star, the Avatar of Christ. Oh, he's so oppressed being in this universe and having to red pill the normies and they don't get it. Oh, that's your game, isn't it? You like to red pill normies and have them resist your diktats. Oh, it's so fascinating and fun when some of them accept and then they get to be your thralls. And then the other ones that don't, you can imagine they're going to be in hell. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But it doesn't matter. That's your game as a player, isn't it? You come here and you say, follow me or burn in hell. Oh, what an epic ultimatum. I'm sure that the people that you should have talked to the most, who needed the most attention and the most actual energy from you, surely they would have just taken up your call. Surely they weren't beset by demonic forces that you couldn't address. Surely you're enough of a god that you were alone the force that was meant to drag them up to heaven. Oh, what an epic, egotistical, Luciferian prick you are. It's almost like we should provide a ladder for people to climb rather than sending celebrities down here to this Middle-earth garbage heap. Maybe we should build a ladder. Maybe we should build a space elevator. Whatever the fuck you want to call it. Celebrities are dead. Stop trying to save us through them. You're not saving us. You're saving pre-programmed thralls. You're saving people who aren't people. For fuck's sake, man. The series summons things up from me. I can't be held responsible for what I say when I watch this. This is not my true opinion. I want to say that I don't advocate anything I've said in this review. Nothing I've said is true or real or legitimate. It's all bullshit. It's all horseshit. It's all comedy. It's all for the meme. It's all ironic. That's what I want to say right now. Now I've said it. Yes, we can all relax. We can all breathe a sigh of relief, can't we? Isn't that such a relief? Now that we've admitted that, that means it's true. I feel cleansed. My God, I feel angelic having admitted that. So, here we have the famous dinner scene. So, Rust has drunk 2 bottles of wine and several cocktails before he came here, and he's not a big eater, so he has a low body weight, and he is feeling that shit. He has to fit into that canali suit for his sister's wedding, so he's had to starve himself, so the alcohol really hits him a lot harder. That was a good impetus. That was a bit of God masquerading as something tied to suffering. So he looks at this epic family, he looks at this married couple, and he goes, I'm really trying not to ruin your joy by vomiting up on you my nihilistic crap, my personal experience. This guy, Rust, despite taking all the drugs he has and doing all the bullshit he's done, he's very fragile in a certain situation. He can't handle the fact that other people can have families where he's not meant to. Oh, boo-hoo. You can't have a wife and child. Boo-hoo. You realize there are people who were born half dead? And their 5-month experience of life is just rotting? You realize there's 5-year-olds who starve to death. It takes them 6 months. Flies eat their corpse. You're fucking ungrateful for being here. You fucking F-A-G, man. Fuck you. Better to be here as a fucking half-demonic husk than it is to not be here, or to be here as something that's just meant to be sacrificed. Are you that fucking ungrateful for existence? I mean, the older I get, the less sympathy I have for Rust. I used to be like, Rust is me, guys. I've had bad dates in my life. Oh, I suffered in my life, therefore I'm him. He's a fucking cuck. He's unable to cope with his own suffering, despite the fact that he's been exposed to all these different drugs. He's had all these different avenues of awakening. He's rejected all of them. He's a retard. And Marty rightly points this out. The older I get, the more I sympathize with Marty, despite the fact that he does some things later in the series, but you have to keep watching, that betray that he's not perfect. At least he tries. At least he tries to do good. Rust is a guy who has experienced some heinous, heavy shit. And he goes, I gotta back off for a bit. But then he's so hypersensitive, he's so fucking triggered by a normal family that he has to get hammered just to be with them. And to his credit, he comes back, he sits down, blah, blah, blah. If you gotta do all that, if you gotta go through all that, just to sit down with a fucking friend's family, you are mentally cooked, my man. Like, you are fucked. Like, I'm fucked up. I'm insane. I could do this. This is not hard. It's not hard to fake this. Alcohol should help you fake it, not make it worse. I mean, this guy's, he's cooked. That's the point. And, you know, he spares them. He's like, oh, let's not talk about my wife and child, blah, blah, blah. Now, that's important because later in the series, Marty is not sure why he's being so secretive. He's like, why are you being so secretive? What the fuck? Are you trying to kill my family or some shit? And he's like, you know, our main Rust is like, no, dude, I just can't fucking admit to you how fragile I am. I can't admit to you how fucked up I am. That's why I'm not saying shit. Because I don't want to admit that to you in a context that's not appropriate. And then later, when they're in the car together, he tells him. I've had moments like that in my life. I've been in a car with a friend, and I've been like, hey, man, I got some shit I'm dealing with. You're my best friend. I'm going to tell it to you. Blah, blah, blah. This movie, same thing. Rust waits until Marty's like, you know, we're in the car driving, who cares? This is a later scene. And he goes, this is why I was so anxious about being around your family. It's not because I'm some kind of freak. It's because of X, Y, Z. And he tells him. And Marty's like, oh, shit, now I understand. Anyway. Basically, what Marty's saying here is he's like, don't hold grudges. That's some true shit. If your dad or your grandpa ever tells you, don't hold grudges, that is legitimate anti-cancer advice. I think that's actually true. The people who hold those types of grudges are people who are obsessed with the past and with damaging parts of themselves, self-damaging parts of themselves. And when you obsess over those pieces of you, I think probably there's some physical impact to that. Probably your physical body is affected by that, maybe even your immune system, and maybe your lifespan. Maybe if you've sinned and you're ashamed in any way, your lifespan is shortened by your lack of ability to confront that part of yourself. This scene's great. Rust's like fucking trolling the guys for getting drunk. And he's like, bleh, 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 you rat fuck. And he fucking slaps him. If a guy ever says that shit to you, you know he's weak. And Rust is like, I know I can slap you, and all you'll do is give me words. You insulted me with words, not with a fist. So if I respond with a slap, you're just going to come back with more words. A real man, you insult him in any way, he's going to just punch you in the face. He's not going to say anything. You know.
But this movie's made back in the day, the late 90s, when men still had testosterone. It hadn't been chemically bred out of us and siphoned out of us by plastics and all sorts of shit so that we're submissive cucks to authority. I'll give you a hint. Even if you like testosterone, there's other ways to rebel.
Anyway, at this point in history, you know, these guys are all fucking sweaty, cigarette-smoking, high-test men. Even this fucking freak. God, they cast him well. He's like, yes, my child trafficking network has been rather dry of late. And the fucking cop's like,
we've got to keep this guy's children coming in. The fake priests really want to suck blood from children. We need to keep them able to get their children.
That's what he's saying. And he's like, oh, there's a war behind things. Yeah, a war between you and God. And you're on the opposite side, you fuck. Enjoy hell. I'll see you there. I'll be poking you with a pitchfork myself. Fat fuck. And then, of course, Rust has mistreated him, you know. Marty's like, don't you know that when Satan comes into the police station, you gotta pretend to like him? And he's like, I'm not gonna pretend to like anybody. That fucker's a fucking demon.
The guy's like, I see, serious. Our whole business is based on placating disputes between angels and demons.
And Rust's like, I didn't sign up for this shit, man. My fucking wife and daughter died or left me, or my wife left me before I could get a daughter, or whatever. And now I'm thinking maybe I could be a detective for good. And now he's being told by everybody around him that he's being a detective for evil. Wow, I wonder why he's not cool with the assignment. I wonder why the placement of him in this position is not appealing to him. What a quandary. What an epic dispute. And of course, Marty, he runs off with this blackjack. It's like, you're totally not fucking her, Marty, I know. I know you are. It was the 90s, guys. It was a different time. You gotta be more forgiving. You know? Be more merciful. Be merciful to your own detriment. Exercise mercy even when it kills you. That's what you should do. Woo! This is a great scene when they confront Marie Fontenot's uncle. This is like, oh God, this poor woman, man. God, this poor woman. Oh my God. It's like, even if you're a demon, you'd be like, well, this guy deserves some sympathy, man. This is bullshit. Like, this poor fucker, man. Holy shit. Oh, the crucifix behind him. Crucifix near Rust here. It's an important set piece. I don't want to get it too caught up on the set pieces in this, but there's times where I'm going to be compelled to point them out. He's got a Scottish blanket over him. The clan's protecting you, lad. We know you got brain zapped by some Jewish magic. That's okay. The clan will save your soul. The Jews had to bargain with us. It's not the other way around. We are the ones who set the bargain. And your soul will always be protected by us. That's the clan promise, me lad. That's... I don't know if that's true. Hope it's true. So again, they're inquiring after this woman's daughter. She's got a son who was raped by microplastics and xenoestrogens and Twitter and Discord into being a retard. So she's like, well, my daughter, who I thought would be my saving grace for my genetic line, was also raped into non-existence. Literally, or maybe also figuratively. I don't know. She's just gone. So Rust goes out and he's like, well, I'm going to investigate her house, see if there's anything here. This poor skeletal fucker is the only person who has any cognizant ability to investigate anything again. There's no one helping him. His partner barely trusts him. Everybody around him is like, you're a double agent. You're exposing us. You're... No one has any faith in him. He knows he's right, so he keeps going. He knows the path he's walking is the right path. Even if it kills him 1,000 times, he's like, I'm supposed to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to resist it. And what does he find? The same mind rape, triangle eye, voodoo doll shit.
So everything's actually triangles. God's signature on reality was the triangle. Now that we've figured that out as Pythagoreans, everyone who opposes us is now evil.
It's like, you really think God is that retarded? That a triangle is God's symbol of his presence here? I have nothing to say other than that's insanely stupid. If you think God's signature on reality is that simple, if you think he would have hidden it in plain sight, that simply, that retardedly, you should burn in hell. You don't get it. It's not about the triangle. What's beyond the triangle? In both ways. Think beyond that. The triangle is a starting point. It's a baseline. If all you've arrived at is let's build churches and temples out of stone according to geometry based on a triangle, you are an ape. You're swinging a pig bone club. You have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea what God is. God is not a fucking triangle, man. Why would God be a triangle? Think about that for a second. Would he be that simple? Would it be that easy? Come on. These two archons interviewing our drunken protagonist, channel their skepticism. How did we catch the killer in 95 if we didn't? There was another body showed up afterwards. Something that contradicted
God's epic plan, as told to you by grifters and vampires. It's almost like it's all bullshit. And you have to listen to something higher in your mind.
Anyway, guys, that is the end of the episode. I've ranted a shit ton. I've said a bunch of crazy shit, which you should not believe or legitimize in any way. This is just my off-the-cuff improvisational thing. But I do love this series, and I hope that you've enjoyed watching it. I hope that you've enjoyed my commentary. I know I glossed over a couple of scenes. There's a bunch of things I didn't touch on. They become more relevant in later episodes, so we're going to touch on them then. But again, thank you very much. We are at 59:14 on this non-torrent. 17, 18, 19...